Good day friends, today we are going to discuss about persistent volume claims. Persistent volume claims acts like a suite in order to map the persistent volume with a Kubernetes pod. Remember that it's another object, Kubernetes object. Assume that we have a pod and we have a storage here. So the storage might be provisioned by the storage team and they will present it to any of the worker node or multiple worker nodes. So we will have to deploy the pod on the respective worker nodes. So what we will do? First we will create a persistent volume in order to prepare the storage. So the storage will be ready to accept the data, and preparation in the sense there are multiple modes or reclamation policies, etc. Then on the other side we will create a persistent volume claim. That means that particular persistent volume claim should meet the criteria of the persistent volume and it should bind together. Then the other side of the persistent volume claim will update in the pod creation definition file and we will create the pod. So it is as simple as whenever a data is reading or writing in the particular file system, first it will go to persistent volume claim, then it will come to persistent volume, finally it will come to the underlying storage device. Let's see the same in action. Let's move on to the lab so that we will understand more thing. This is basically our previous lab. I left everything as it is, where we would be discussing more about the persistent volume claim in this episode. For that, first we have to let's copy this parameter because it may be required later. I'll create a text file. Perfectly fine. Vi pvc.yaml. Here it is straightforward API version v1 kind as again persistent volume claim metadata metadata name is first we have to mention the name. Here we can say pvc-storage, any name. You guys can decide what to give, it's up to you. Spec. First thing, resources. What are we gonna request? We want resources, right? We are gonna request the Kubernetes cluster. We want this much storage, so storage is a resource. First is resource. Second is, what are we gonna do? We are gonna request to the Kubernetes cluster. What are we gonna request? We want the storage. Assume that we want 4 GB. Next, access modes. Again here it is read, write once, because since we are gonna deploy it in a single node, so we read write once is more than enough. We don't want to expose it to multiple nodes. So that's it. Again, one more parameter we will mention here. What is that? Storage class as well as selectors. Here the storage classes storage class name is slow. Then we have another parameter selector. Here it is match labels. What are we gonna do that? What are we gonna select? Labels. Again, what was the label? Let's go back to the thing. Type equal to SSD. Remember that it is a key pair, right? Type equal to SSD. That's it regarding the persistent volume claim. kubectl create pvc.yaml. What do we need to create? From the declaration form. Okay, error validating PVC YAML, error validating data validation error, unknown field request. Okay, we got it. pvc.yaml. So it should be requests. Guys, purposefully I put this in this way because you should hope you might have understood that each spelling is how critical. Very simple. So kubectl get pv, pvc, persistent volume and persistent volume claim. Look at that. The persistent volume as well as the persistent volume claim is in bound status. Perfectly alright. It has perfectly fit. Now the access mode is read write once. Here as well the access mode is read write once. Capacity is 4 gig. Here also 4 gig. Then reclamation policy is exclusively for persistent volume. We never mentioned the reclamation policy in the persistent volume claim as we decide when to delete it, right? And the access mode is fine. Storage class, again we have storage class, both are slow. So storage class, access mode, these two are very critical. If there is any mismatch in this, definitely this bound will not happen. It may be in failed state. And the last point here is you have a PV. Assume that your PV is having 10 GB of size and you are requesting a PVC of 4 GB. It will bind, but it can use only 4 GB. Remaining 6 GB will be waste. So you should always remember that parameter. This PV and PVC, you will be selecting the correct size. And remember that point as well. So we have created a persistent volume and persistent volume claim. So how to see that? kubectl describe PVC, persistent volume claim, PVC-storage. Perfectly fine. Look at this. Each parameters has been printed perfectly. Now we will be creating a pod and mount this parameter. How do we do that? Let's create a vi pod.yaml. You will aware that API version is v1. I hope you are pretty much familiar with this, right? Kind is pod. Metadata is name. We will mention it as nginx. Spec content containers, hyphen name, nginx, image, nginx. Next is volume mounts. Guys, you know very well volume mounts and all. We have discussed in the earlier episode. Hyphen name. Name we can mention that data. Mount path / data. Volumes. Here is the trick. We have one thing, name, data. Here we are going to mention persistent volume claim. Perfectly alright. Now claim name. Claim name is pvc-storage. Perfect. Let's create kubectl create -f pod.yaml. Oh, it's straightforward. kubectl get pod pvc pv. It's up and running. Fine. Persistent volume claim is bound. Persistent volume storage is written. Now kubectl exec nginx -it for interactive terminal sh df-hp /data is present. So let's go to /data. We will do one thing, touch 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. Fine. Cat /etc password passwd.txt. I'll mention this as well. Let's see. Everything is there, right? Exit. Now kubectl describe pvc-storage. Guys, look at here where it is mounted. It is mounted at the nginx file system is using this, correct? So the namespace here it is default. One more thing I will let you know, kubectl describe pv-storage. If you look at here, there is no namespace. That means the persistent volume is, as we discussed, it's just a preparation of storage. So we don't want to expose, or we don't want to limit it to a particular namespace. Whereas the persistent volume claim is closely working with the pod, so that it should be in a particular namespace. So if you wish to create a pod in a specific namespace, Remember, you will also create a persistent volume claim in the particular namespace. How do you mention that? In the metadatas area, you can mention that namespace equal to so and so namespace. Or in the other way, you can do one more thing, kubectl minus f. Sorry, kubectl minus f, kubectl create minus f, that particular reference file, space minus n, that namespace name. If you mention it, more than enough. So that way we can do. So this concludes our video regarding the persistent volume, claim. kubectl get pods, pv, pvc. See, everything is mounted and it's working as expected. One last point before let you go. Let us cd/tmp/theta. Files are created perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine. Now let's go back. So let's conclude our video here regarding the persistent volume and persistent volume claim, and in the very next video we will be predominantly discussing about reclamation policy and access modes. So thank you so much guys for your time, and we will see in the next video.